I gotta let this thing kind of go for a little bit before I get going. I guess it's a 10-second thing. All right, and then while that's going, I can set up my page here while we wait for people to come in. I never plan my live streams. This would probably be the most random channel ever. So there we go. And then let me put this on silent. All right. What's going on? Good afternoon, Brian. Happy Sunday to you. Happy Sunday to you. All right. Happy Sunday. All right. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I guess I should be probably doing introductions, and I have a lot of new followers. So, they may not really understand how my channel works, how it operates, right? It's a random thing, right? So, you're not looking at like this committed podcaster. You're looking at somebody who will fit this hobby into their schedule when appropriate. I've been trying to maximize the use of my time during the day. So I do try to drop at least one live stream a day now, just to kind of keep, the commitment and the subscribers, getting content from me. Um, I guess let me address some of the questions that I've had, or even some of the comments. They're like, why don't you do your live streams in any other place? This is like the high traffic area of my house, right? And so it's one of those things where, at certain times of the day, everybody is dispersed about the house between the upstairs, downstairs. And so this is like the chill area. And so if you take a look at the name of my channel, it's called the Intellectuals Thought Corner for a reason, because this is like my little workstation. This is kind of where I come and ponder about this and that. This is where I come and kind of look at the news. And so I'm always looking at the crazy of the world. And so it's just like my little thought corner. So this is why my channel is called the Intellectuals Thought Corner. You're going to hear my smoke alarm. I'm going to get that taken care of. I never change those things. I don't want to climb up on anything. I think I tried to change it like 5 years ago, and like, I don't know, I just felt like vertigo, and I felt like I was going to throw up just being up there. I'm not really a height type of person. I don't like the height type of thing, right? But anyways, I guess like I could do like a little mini quick about me. I guess I hate talking about myself. I like talking about things, not myself, but I'm a mom. I have 3 children. One of them are grown now and doing her career path thing, and I'm proud of her. She's a hard worker. She's always had a job though. My daughter we've always taught our kids the value of working for what they want. And I always tell my kids, my job is to make sure you have the things that you need. To get the things that you want, kid, you need to get a job. And that's just what it is. Like, I'm not responsible for fulfilling your every want, you know? And I think teaching your kids that early, really lends itself to helping them to be independent and autonomous people. I teach my kids accountability, right? I don't allow my 10-year-old is in this phase, and I know where it is, what's going on with her, but she weaponizes her tears. And she really does a good job of punking her dad because he's just like putty. Like, I mean, as soon as he sees like an inklet of a drop coming from her eyes, he's just on it. He needs to make it better. He's one of those that he'll do anything for his daughter. Like he has a son, right? He loves our son, and they're twins. And I think the more our son gets older, the more he's just like doing more guy stuff with them, like, barbershop stuff. That's their time. And he restricts my daughter from going to the barbershop because she would just think like daddy is all mine. But no, he really balances the time between the two of them and what he needs to do for them. So it's really cool. By profession, I work in financial services. That's been my career for, man, I'm going on my fifth year. They say if you survive in financial services for 5 years, you have a good chance of having a career in financial services. So we'll see. We'll see. Um, what else? I mean, I like to read. Shocking, right? I do like to read. I do like Thomas Sowell. I read between the lines on anything I read from people, but I love Thomas Sowell. I think I probably have between Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell, and even Walter Williams. I don't really read a lot of other people outside of the Bible, and just those things about worldviews. I don't like to read a bunch of perspectives because I think a lot of people come with a lot of bias, a lot of supremacy in their perspectives, and they're trying to make certain evil things or shisty things okay, so they'll try to create a fluff piece. So I do read between the lines of a lot of things that people write. I am politically independent, socially independent. I don't believe in being on any bandwagon of ignorance. I don't believe in being in any tribe of thought. The only tribe that I am okay with being a member of is those of my fellow spiritual Israelites, going out and doing the will of God and trying to maintain spiritual balance in this wicked world. I believe that, Jesus is our Messiah, He's our King. But I don't believe in weaponizing religion. I don't use my religion as a badge of, I don't even have a religion. I just consider myself a disciple of Christ. But I don't wear it as a badge of credibility or relevance so that people can believe me or believe that somehow I have this higher moral value. I just speak how I speak. I do be rebuking these demons that come over to my page and think that they're going to be trolling. I'll probably be deleting some folks from the comments and blocking them from the page if they come over here trying, because I pray to God. I'm like, look, this is how I rebuke demons, humans, and spirits. So how we doing this? And so far, I feel like the good Lord said it's okay to give I feel like cursing is acceptable when you're rebuking demons and when you are rebuking evil spirited people. I believe in cursing their asses out all day, right? But that's just me. Yeah, what did Kendrick Lamar say? I don't like this line and not like us, but he said, what did he say? You beat your ass and hide the Bible if God watching, right? I don't like that line, right? But I think Kendrick is talking about you got to rebuke these demons sometimes. They try to come at you and you got to rebuke them. And sometimes you got to use the force of God, seasoned with words, but sprinkled with a little gangster. So I believe in cursing out wicked people. But anyways, you guys, the Democratic cope continues. And some of the stuff that's coming out of the Democratic camp is just hilarious to me. So I saw this video yesterday from, I think it's Pink Book Lessons, right? And I'm like, no, this man did not say this. So I had to go and search other sound bites of James Carville talking about what it takes to win and what you really need to be willing to do to win. And so I went and I found this entire podcast, and it's about 27 minutes. And James Carville talks about how the Democrats should win election 2028. So I thought that, hey, we got time. Let's digest what James Carville is saying so that we understand how the Democrats, or at least some of their old school Democrats, are seeing what they need to do to make adjustments, for possible future wins. So let's go, James Carville. What you talking about, man? What you talking about, Willis?
I got to slap you to win.
Wait. Said, hold up. What you saying? Because I'm wait a minute. He started off talking about slapping folks to win. Hold on. Okay, let's do this again, James Carville. Let's see.
If I told my mama Mama, I got to slap you to win. And she said, son, is that going to help you close the sale? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, go ahead and slap me. Go ahead and slap me. You do anything you can to win. Understand that. Understand that. There's nothing, nothing, nothing more important than winning elections.
Whew. That was heavy. That was heavy. He came out swinging with that. He came out swinging with that. He said, if you got to slap your own damn mama to win, you do that. You do that. And I'm trying to figure out, at what point, because it seems that James Carville is saying that, some people who were running that campaign should have been slapped. Some people in the Democratic Party should be slapped, right? So let's see where he's going with that statement.
Okay, this is one I've worked on for a long time. I don't know if anybody will watch it, but it's important for me to get it on the record here, okay? Welcome to all our YouTube Politicon fans. Take a little bit of a different direction today. I want to talk about 2028. Wait a minute, what are you doing? Yeah, I want to talk about 2028, election year. And I want to establish right now some principles. The main principle I want to establish is taken off the title of the documentary. It's about winning, stupid. Winning, and nothing else. We learned some lessons in this campaign.
What y'all learn?
And to what extent should a person go to try to win an election? My view is that you would do anything other than break the law. So, in my culture, Louisiana culture, there's nothing more exalted than motherhood. We have this.
I don't know. He's just babbling right now, so I'm gonna have to get to some juicy parts, James. You got to get to it. You came out, slap your mama. Okay, let's see. Let's go. I have to skip through. I see the slap your mama. But okay, so right off the bat, James Carville, he's saying that you got to do anything to win. Winning is obviously the priority. I don't believe in an attitude like that personally, because when you have an attitude like that, you get sloppy, you get wicked really fast. You know what I mean? To me, I think that you need to know how to win better. In this particular situation, Trump out strategized the Democrats. That's just what it was. So, I don't know, you can go all around the mat or go around, but I think hopefully he addresses the fact that it is the people in their party that is the disease and the losing force for them.
Thing is so good or so bad. There's an expression you use. Make you slap your mama. Okay, I want to show you. This is a seasoning.
Okay, now I know. Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's actually pretty good. You can. It's pretty generally available now. The place it comes out.
Okay, get to it, man. See, these Democrats, they be word sounding like a. Okay, it looked like he was doing an endorsement.
We forget it. So I'm gonna expand on this somewhat, but there was the great moment on The View with Vice President Harris. And she was asked by, I think, Sonny Houston, a House, and I'm not a big viewer, but
they don't even watch The View.
Show, pretty influential.
Some of the Democrats don't even watch the crap.
She said, "What would you have done different than President Biden?" Now, understand, said it before, but I got to reemphasize it because it's such a teaching moment. In her mind, she did not want to be disloyal to President Biden. That he had given her opportunity to pick her as vice president, had arranged his exit from the race in a way that, frankly, gave Democrats no alternative but to rally behind Vice President Harris's campaign. In other words, he set the whole thing up. I hate to say this because I like him, but Joe Biden stands over this catastrophe like a colossus.
Didn't I say that, you guys? You guys, I've said this. Joe Biden did that on purpose. Joe Biden did that on purpose. I think that the Democrats were talking about phasing Biden out way before they just abruptly transitioned to Kamala Harris, just propping her as the nominee because there was no primary. And so, I think that somewhere between and somewhere, maybe Joe Biden forgot, you know, that he was supposed to pass the torch to Kamala earlier so that they could start selling her to the public, re-imaging her, trying to clean up her skeletons and give her. They didn't have a lot of time to do that. And I think Joe Biden did that on purpose. I really believe he did that on purpose.
But at any rate,
and he does too.
The answer to the question that you should most want, the question that everybody had in their mind, she chose loyalty over winning. Now, I'm sure that there are people, and good people, reasonable people, ethical people, that say, James, you shouldn't throw somebody in the ditch that made your career. Bullshit. Bullshit.
First of all, I mean, let James Carville tell it that Kamala Harris didn't have a really substantial career until Joe Biden drafted her as his VP. I mean, they're even minimizing her previous experience now. It's amazing how these people are saying the obvious part out loud now that they've lost. They had a chance to sit back and really digest the fact that she was never, ever, ever going to go the distance. She wasn't a likable candidate before. There was no freaking way that they were going to make her a likable candidate now, right? And what they thought was, we're just going to raise enough money and put all this energy into leeching off of celebrities and their fan bases to make it seem like Kamala Harris is more likable than she really is, when in reality, it was like, sometimes, when I heard Kamala Harris trying to stick to the script, it was like, somebody putting an ice pick in my ear. Like, I mean, she got all just tense and babbly. And it's like, here's the thing. I know that there's a lot of people in society that deals with anxiety. I know that, there are a lot of people in society that deals with that, and I pray that you get closer to God so you can give all of that to him. Throw your burdens upon the Lord and he will sustain you, right? But I do believe that people who suffer from high anxiety should not be in positions of power. And this is not about discrimination. It's about getting things done with the most critical and common sense and emotionally balanced, direction possible. And we need people who have individual convictions to be able to do that. And you can't, a puppet is never going to do that. Like, I mean, I felt bad for Kamala. I used the word puppet because honestly, she was more like a crash test dummy. She was more like a crash test dummy. And, you know, she was, sort of crash testing in a car where all the screws weren't on the chassis. you know, the body was made out of like some cheap plastic, right? She was, being crash tested in a go-kart. And it was horrible. It was horrible.
Right? This is the one question that you exist to answer. So there can't be any conflict with anything that wins an election. Nothing. Not relationships, not conflicted loyalties, not anything. Because if you're playing by one rule and they playing by another rule, and your rule is wimpier than their rule, then they're going to beat you. I don't know how else to say this. It sounds so crude, so rude, so political, so unsophisticated. Okay, nothing in politics is more important than winning. So let's go to some things that we saw in this campaign. And some, I'm going to be very clear, we had no choice. But in spite of that, the lessons remain. So I want to address our potential 2028 candidates. I know a lot of you. One of the things that I found most frustrating is I believe that the talent that exists in the current Democratic Party today in the United States is the highest level of talent I've seen in any political party anywhere in my lifetime.
Really?
So
By what measurement?
I'm going to sort of give you some advice. Some of you will call, ask me, and I want to.
Who do the Democrats have? You guys, I need to take a break from this real quick. And if anybody in the chat can just throw out some names, because I really don't understand what talent pool that the Democrats have. They can't be talking about usual suspect. Anybody that is currently facing, standing up for Kamala, riding with Biden, none of those people. You can't tap Whitmer, you can't tap Hochul, you can't tap Newsom, you can't tap none of those people because they would be eaten alive. So I would really like to know, if you're a Democrat who has indulged your emotions to tune into this live stream, who do you have? Who are your champions? Like, I mean, I don't really understand. Who are your champions? No disrespect to James Carville, but he's making it seem like you guys have a pool. How the hell do you guys have a pool of talent and walked out with Kamala Harris? How the hell do y'all have this pool of talent and even walked out with Joe Biden? I mean, there's some delusion going on here. Maybe there's a disconnect. I would love to understand what Carville's measurement of this talent pool that they have. And if you're measuring it based off of somebody's child, you said Josh Shapiro, no, he'd be eaten alive. They turned the women on Josh Shapiro real freaking quick. They would. And that's just the bottom line. Women would be turned off from Josh Shapiro really quick. That's why he wasn't really a good pick for Kamala Harris, because they needed to hang on to all of those women. And the last thing they needed was the Republican going and grave digging on Josh Shapiro and turning the women voters against him. That's why he wasn't a good option. That's why she had to settle for Mr. State Puff Marshmallow Man Tim Walz. Happy little motherfucker, but he was all happy. You know, it's good to be happy like that. Just, I don't know. Just, there's some people like that. Shapiro, I don't know, exactly. They played choosing. I always said that Kamala Harris was a risk card. I never thought she was going to go to distance. The writing was on the wall. They could have took a better gamble if they went with Gavin Newsom. They would have took a better gamble going with Gretchen Whitmer and just seeing how Kamala Harris was not the one. And you got to believe that, and here's the thing. They did not have anybody. There was nobody in the Democratic Party as dynamic as Donald Trump but Robert F. Kennedy. And they messed around so much on him, right, that he flipped on them just like Tulsi Gabbard. So they actually, to me, flipped their kind of better champions. And I've always said this. If Democrats would have actually played the Robert F. Kennedy card, he would have been a way better option than Kamala Harris, because nothing can seal the deal or even make elections super duper tight like a Kennedy. The fact that you had the golden ticket on your side and you made that person flip over to the other side, which made Trump's side look even stronger because he had the Kennedy card. And Black people love the Kennedys. So the Democrats were stupid all the way around. And I think Carville is making this argument that Kamala Harris did not want to flip her loyalties to Joe Biden, I don't think Kamala Harris could do that. She was not scripted to do that. Because I don't think Kamala Harris like Joe or Jill. Right? But she has to pretend. She had to be like, she was not able to flip on Biden, because if Kamala Harris, I think her consultants probably thought to themselves, if Kamala sits here in these interviews and flips on Biden, it almost substantiates her failures, because she is an extension. She is tethered to Biden and whatever perceptions of his failure that America has. So she was already in a losing race anyways, because she was tethered to somebody that Americans felt like were ruining the economy and infiltrating and allowing this country to be infiltrated with human liabilities. And it wasn't just Joe Biden, it was Joe Biden's pick, your Mayorkases, right? Everybody that Joe Biden was picking, they were enabling the dumb fuckery that has been going on in this country for damn near 4 years. And Kamala Harris was tethered to that. So I don't even think it was about Kamala Harris feeling super loyal to Joe Biden. I really feel like her campaign consultants and team were like, no, 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 no. We can't narrate Joe Biden X, Y, and Z, because that's going to fall back on you. So she had to be really selective of her words. I get what you're saying, Carville. She should have broke loyalties and just said straight up, no, I wasn't a part. See, if I was Kamala, and if she was really able to be her damn self, right, I would have been like, look, they elected me as a VP. They gave me X, Y, and Z, right? And I did what I did at the border, which was shit, right? But in terms of other economic policies or anything like that, she could not walk herself back from those things. If anything, she was like, no, I was a part of all of it, right? I was a part of all of it, right? Because there was a segment of the Democratic base that did not want to see her turning on Biden. And so she didn't. So I get where Carville is saying, but to her, puppetry, right? She couldn't. She really couldn't. Let me pause and get into some comments. If you are trolling my comment, you about to get embarrassed, and then, we'll go ahead and get you out of here, because I don't have any of my mods in here today. So it's just me checking you, and you would definitely prefer my mods do it. All right, so RFK was terrible. You may think he was terrible, but Kamala was worse. At least Kennedy had a brand name behind him. He comes from the Kennedy clan. So that would have been a better sell than a Kamala Harris coming from Jamaica and India and across the lands, right? And then they have to transform her into a Black and East Indian when it is very convenient for them. At least we always know that RFK was a white Irish guy from America, from a clan of other white Irishmen. All right. I'm with you. You are totally right. I love it. Thank you so much, Armando. She belongs to the streets. Not sure who you're talking about. Hopefully you're not talking about me, because if you are, you're probably talking about your mama. Ha ha ha, you are right. Okay, so let me see. Kamala was controllable. Of course, I was so vexed. People probably thought I was a bitch, and maybe I was being a little bitch about it. But those government earrings that they made that woman wear, and it wasn't and honestly, they stayed the course. Even when people called her out about wearing those earrings during the Trump debate, they still was like, don't worry about that. That's just a little minuscule thing. It'll come and go. But then for my ass, it was like my consciousness was heightened, and she was wearing those damn earrings. And even in some interviews, if you look very closely, when she would get a pressurized question, she would even defer to the guy or the gal in her ear, giving her talking points when she gets caught in a jam, or they need to make sure that she's saying the right things, right? She was puppeted the entire time, right? So she was not going to be her organic self. She was a puppet. And unfortunately, You know, that's what happened. Okay, let's see. They never did that with Kamala. That was Republicans talking about points identifying Canada because they knew people wouldn't look into her. Um, I wouldn't say that was Republicans because, like, you had people like Tariq Nasheed, if you're talking about her little black identity card. First of all, the Democrats definitely, either Kamala or the Democrats definitely use her identity as a brag point for liking her, right? And when they sold her in the Senate, she was the first East Indian. And they did that for a reason because obviously they want to give the East Indian kind of folks their flowers. Like, look, you guys have a representative. But then they're like, well, she's also Jamaican, so, or black, right? Because they don't understand that among even black looking people, there are cultural delineations, and there are many Jamaican people who would not consider themselves black because they look at black as being synonymous with black Americans. And if you go into to Jamaica, I mean, Jamaicans of all colors, they don't really say, I'm Asian Jamaican, I'm white Jamaican, I'm black Jamaican. They're all just Jamaicans, right? And so you got to understand how people and groups really function before you start narrating people, because she was being cosplayed as a black person to black people. And the reason we knew that they were specifically cosplaying her as a black American Freeman was because of all the HBCUs and all the collard greens and all the little, I smoke weed, but I'm gonna lock these niggas up, for smoking it. Like, she was doing that, right? And then I listened to Snoop Dogg when he wasn't even dropping. It's like, come on. They did everything they could to blackify Kamala Harris because she just really wasn't, and can't white people go to HBCUs from what I understand? So it's like, to me, HBCU is where you kind of go to get some level of black identity, right? Where you can become culturally black, even though many of those people are products of immigrants and not American descendants of slaves. So they did not play the Kamala Harris because they already pulled the okie doke on us with Barack Obama, right? And I don't think that the Republicans had anything to do with the black delineation movement that people like Tariq Nasheed was out there saying Kamala is not black because she's not from our lineage. It wasn't about her and her Jamaican people, all that. It was just point blank, period. She's not a descendant of freemen. She is a product of immigrants. And that was the whole thing that I think really sideswiped the Democrats too, because they didn't expect for these grassroots black thought tanks to have as much power. And I think even Jen O'Malley Dillon, Kamala Harris' deputy campaign manager, who was out there promising the donors that she would win, right? Even according to Lindy Lee, allegedly, she said that they did not account for the grassroots podcast people who had a lot of influence on segments of their different voter bases. They didn't calculate that. They didn't calculate that small little Latino group who was talking about how offended they were that Democrats decided to call them Latinx. I'm like, what the is a Latinx? Like, who are they? What are they comprised of? Like, what the hell? Right? But they like to culture group people, not realizing how offensive it is to other people. So when you start propping up black looking people and saying that they're black, right? And black people should just be all like, oh shoot, here's a beacon, somebody that look like us. But Kendra told us they're not like us, right? And I hate to call these people tethers, but many of them are not. They're culturally black. They tether onto black culture, but lineage wise, like I said, so that's why it's bad for Democrats these days to be selling their candidates, because now people are going to be lineage checking them all the way, especially your Tariq Nasheed contingencies. And that voice, like anytime you have a black contingency voice group, that can impact elections like that too, right? The FBI be on it, right? They be starting to, put people on different lists, right? Oh, this is a person who's threatening, right? Because they're able to see through their bullshit and at least communicate with their people in a way that gets them to say, you know what? We're not falling for the old okey doke this time, guys. Let whoever do what they want. But the fact is, Trump got 20%. He increased the amount of black voters that a Republican president would get. And that is something that terrifies them. Now they're like, how do we reconnect with our voter groups of color after we have insulted their cultures, tried to rename them, repurpose their groups, lump them all up? How do we get all those people back? See, Kamala Harris's loss was beyond Kamala Harris. People just weren't going to be voting for her because not just because of who she was. It wasn't really even about who she was because we never got a chance to see that because they puppeted her so much. They were voting against what she stood for. They were voting against the party that she stands with. So Kamala Harris' loss is really not her loss. Like I said, it was a loss for the Democrats because they saw even some of their committed blue states flip on their asses because of how people have felt disrespected by all this superimposing rhetoric and disrespect to people's bodies. The same my body, my choice people, they were punking people into taking vaccines. They were leveraging their corporate side chicks to do that, putting mandates on people that had to be overturned by the Supreme Court. They were trying to leverage OSHA to make sure that they put that stuff in everybody without them having a choice. Disrespecting the Nuremberg Code. People don't forget, this was a vote against what these people have been doing to Americans for the last 4 years with their tyranny. And honestly, for Trump's first term, I will always look at that as really the delay of that bullshit. Because if we would have got Hillary Clinton's little wicked ass in there, oh, we would have been miserable. We would have been miserable. Thank God Trump beat her. They better stop putting these females up against Trump. Because I think J.D. Vance might be next. And he'll probably learn a lot from Donald Trump and this tenure of them being together. Hopefully, Damian Thorne doesn't become a glory whore too soon. That's what I called J.D. Vance. Shout out to Greg Manorino. I got it from him. But, he's going to be up next. And I think that they're going to have to match with somebody just as dynamic as J.D. Vance. And he's not terrible on the eyes either. So they can't be having some weird looking thing either. They got to kind of go back to the Kennedy days. You can't have some weird looking thing, against anything. You got to think about the optics. You got to think about the character, the charisma, the conviction. You need all of that in your candidates. And the Democratic Party don't got that shit because they foster emotional irrationality. So now they got to put the whole damn party through therapy, regroup, get them to a point of reconciliation, tell their therapist to change their program a little bit. Like, look, we're not trying to coddle their problems forever. We need people resolving their problems so that they can become actualized people in society. Otherwise, we'll never win again. We'll never win again. Never. And we got to abandon all these crazy, irrational arguments. You can't be the smartest people in society talking about their, disrespecting our right to choose. And it's like, bitch, if you don't get your ass in the car and take your ass over to that blue state and terminate that unwanted child that you done acquired, it's really that simple, So they're going to have to find new issues to deal with. I think America is accustomed to the way that they have leveraged the race card. So now they're going to have to find something else. And most people are only going to care about the economy. So Democrats need to stop taxing people. They need to abandon any conversation now or in the future about taxing unrealized gains. because that's just unreal. And just to me, if you ever want to prove that you're a slimy snake, that you're a leech, start having conversations about taxing unrealized gains. That is the ultimate slimy way to prove that you are in it, to just short squeeze Americans out of taxes so that y'all can go on your bipolar spending sprees. Because that's that basically what they're doing. They're spending like bipolar maniacs with the mindset that they have taxing power. And that's disgusting. And this has been going on for decades and it's been allowed. So, let's see what Trump does. He's supposed to be draining the swamp, right? He didn't do it really the first term. So hopefully we can see, hopefully, Trump will drain the swamp this time, right? All right, so let's listen to a little bit more of James Carville, and then I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to read some comments too. You guys know how I do over here. When I'm in my train of thought, I can't be reading these comments because sometimes you have those little passionately ignorant demons that want to come in trolling about dumb shit, and don't nobody care about you like that. You just need
to. By
to.
the way, the 2028 nomination is going to be worth a lot. Unless we screw it up like only we can do, we should have the presidency back. If there's a country in 2028, I don't want to get in the predicting business here, but let's just assume that there is. My first recommendation to you is pick your own people. That's right. Don't go back and get the latest trendy thing, the latest fad, because Vice President Harris, she was encumbered by a lot of things. She had Biden people. All right. Her campaign manager was Biden's campaign manager. Her headquarters stayed in Wilmington. They didn't change the furniture. They didn't change the artwork. And to ask people like Miss Dillon, whose whole career she owes to President Biden, and it's a wonderful relationship. I respect that. But no wonder you couldn't answer the question how you were different, because you didn't have your own people. They gave you the keys to their car. So don't, I get along.
Didn't I say that earlier? Kamala Harris could not deviate from turning on, she could not deviate from staying the course and being tethered to Joe Biden and what he's done, because she inherited his campaign team. And from what I understand, his whole staff, they did not like her. They did not care for her. And and I don't know like what Kamala Harris is like to work with, right? Because when you're dealing with people who have those little unchecked anxieties, sometimes they could be a doozy to work with, right? But these people did not have her best interest in mind at all. That's why, I have a level of empathy for Kamala Harris, right? Because she was entering a losing game. She chose to be the puppet in that game. But I truly do believe that Kamala Harris, had it in her mindset that she was going to have a machine behind her that had her best interest in winning in mind. And I don't think that the people that she was working with had her best interest in mind. They wanted to make sure that she stayed tethered to Joe Biden the entire time, which didn't give her a lot of room to really come out, be vocal about things that she would have done differently, right? She really stayed the course on Biden's BS, and that did hurt her.
Well, with the Obama people in Bax, in Messina, these guys are friends of mine. I think I would say very comfortably we have mutual respect. But I'm not an Obama person. I'm a Clinton person. Obama would never, it would be really stupid to have me as part of the campaign, because you have to have your own people. You have to understand that. Sometimes in politics, people want to chase the latest trend, or the latest idea of someone that did that. No, because whoever the creator of that idea, that trend is, they have a loyalty somewhere else. They probably made money. They don't give a shit about you. You want hungry people around you that care about one thing, you and you winning. And that's all that matters.
And she didn't have that.
So let's talk about other conflicting loyalties here and other things that run campaigns. All right. This is 2 pieces of advice I'm going to give, and I'm very confident in both of them. Do not have your headquarters in Washington, D.C., or anywhere in the Washington Metroplex, or whatever the fuck they call it. Be a plane ride ahead. Preferably, you have to change planes to get where you are. Because let me tell you something about these Washington assholes. They're not going to leave Northwest Washington. They're going to leave the Cosmos Club or whatever the fuck they go to. So get away from them as much as you possibly can. The second one, be controversial, but I'm going to tell you right now. No lobbyists. None, zero, de nada. To be a lobbyist is to be conflicted. You know, sometimes you learn lessons from other people.
They need to listen to the elders, okay? I think what's been going on with the Democratic Party is that they have put all these young, so-called fresh minds who don't want to listen to the wisdom of the people who have been in this game long enough to know how it works, how these people work, you know, what ideas have worked well, what ideas have not worked well, right? I think right now the Democratic Party is comprised of the kids of the kids of these oligarchs type of folks that have been establishment, right? And again, it goes back to my conversations about nepotism, right? I believe that the Democratic Party is probably the most nepotistic party, right? I'm sure the Republicans have their nepotism too, but the Democrats really, you know, and to me, nepotism will always stifle societies because you're never going to have your brightest and best faces forward. You're going to have some kid whose father is an elite. His face is going to be forward, you know, representing their family. And again, people can say what they want to say. Elites, they send their kids to these, you know, name brand schools, right? And they come out with these little depreciating pieces of paper and they can't think. They're dumber than a sack of diapers, many of them, but because their dad or their mom is who they are, right? They get to be propped. They get to be propped in leadership roles that they're not prepared for. They get to weaponize their mental health, right? Because they're not a strong character. They weren't bred to be a stronger character, right? If you really want your best leaders, you gotta go to the alumni of the School of Hard Knocks. People who know how to struggle. People who understand that creativity sometimes can win over a lavish budget. This is where the Democratic Party, their nepotism in corporate America, in government, is really hurt them in society. It really has. And it will continue to hurt them, our business structures and society, if they don't stop being so damn nepotistic. And this is basically what Carville is saying, right? This is old school talking. This is old school talking. And this dude has been around long enough to know that what he's saying is the truth. He doesn't sound like he's pandering. He's telling it like it is. And it's for these young ass Democratic inheritors of opportunities to listen to the old folks. Because your parents damn sure didn't give you the best advice to listen to, because you're failing. Because you're running on your emotions and your feelings, and they will enable that shit because they're mom and dad. But overall, society does not care about your feelings. They don't care about your emotions. They care about the rationality that you can put on the table, the strategy that you can put on the table. He's telling it what it is. They had a lot of young people running a show on a Democratic side, party side, and those young peoples were strategizing with their feelings and with like they felt like everybody else in society should have been feeling, and that's what it's giving to me.
Whatever you think of George W. Bush, okay, not my intent to tell you what I think of him, but he's a pretty good guess. When Karl Rove went to work for him, he says, you can't have any other clients. You got to get rid of them all. Because Bush maybe was smarter than you think. He knew that there could be no conflict. So, and I like David Plouffe. I know him modestly. His reputation is very good. He's somebody that I would automatically have respect for. He's actually kind of state school guy. He's got a really cool wife. And he worked for Uber. And I guess he got to leave an absence.
If you don't stop, see these.
If they're contractors, different.
I got to skip through.
And you winning the election. And just that. Nothing else. All right? We keep making that error. We go back and we find someone from the last campaign we think is smarter than the campaign before the last campaign. And of course, these people come in, they don't give a shit about you. I'll let you imagine the examples that I'm thinking of, but move on, we shall. So, a couple of things I learned early in my life. You have to practice and you have to create your own moment. I go back to...
Basically, I feel like this word salad of Carville is basically, they puppeted...
You have to practice.
They puppeted Kamala Harris. He's calling it out in a very slick way, right? But he's saying you have to be yourself, right? This is his advice to future candidates, right? He's not trying to throw shade on Kamala too much. I don't think he's trying to beat the woman while she's down, right? But he's talking in vague. But we know this is for Kamala and her team, right? He's basically saying you got to be yourself, right? And I've been saying this every single video up until the election that they were puppeting that woman. I never got a chance to really see what she was like, right? I mean, that the most organic that I would ever get Kamala Harris is outside of all of this shit at a bar drinking, right? I like Moscow mules. So we'll go over a couple of Moscow mules, right? And just have the woman just be herself. I'm pretty sure she'll really kind of tell us what it is. And, it ain't going to be nothing that we saw on that campaign trail. That was like a shell of herself. She was a shell. And the Nova H1 earrings that she kept on freaking wearing throughout since the debate, right? Those were the soul that governed that woman throughout the campaign. And Carville is just basically saying, hey, next time around, Dems, maybe we shouldn't puppet our candidate so hard. Because people are not believing that she's really organic, and that's a problem.
Just practice.
Practice being yourself.
One of the great things that great politicians have are a sense of timing, a sense of what lines are going to work, what lines will work. And, if I were Harris's campaign manager, I would have made her answer that question, what do you do different than Biden, 20 times a day. I would have had the travel aide who sat in the back seat with her, sat on the airplane with it. Just keep
they were in her ears, James.
That answer. For whatever reason, they didn't do that. But you got to create your own moment. And
she could not do that.
NPR and Washington advocacy groups. And if that's your test, you're going to succeed every time. Every fucking time you're going to succeed. So I remember in the Clinton campaign, we created our own moment. It was called the Sister Soldier moment. Okay? It worked. All right, it just did. That pissed off NPR, pissed off progressive advocacy groups, pissed off everything. I saw my own experience. I'll give you an example. As I saw in March of this year, we were hemorrhaging male voters. But no one would say anything.
They were hemorrhaging male voters, and nobody said anything, right? Nobody said, like, so again, when these highly paid consultants get on a podcast, these highly paid folks that were members of the Harris campaign, when they get their asses on a podcast and say that they really didn't see the writing on the wall until after polling closed, it was like, these are the consultants that you never want to have on a campaign ever again. Jen O'Malley Dillon obviously is the child of somebody, and she has been hooked up to be in these high level positions, obviously through some level of nepotism or connections, right? She is somebody's child that has been riding with Biden this whole time. He has made her career, according to Carville, right? But she was not the best solution for Kamala Harris, right?
And I was trying to draw attention to it. So I told Maureen Dowd that I thought.
And they were on their Woman Hear Me Roar
campaign coach.
They were on that Woman Hear Me Roar, women, 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 that they totally ignored the men. They totally ignored the men. Yet Carville said that he saw back in March of this year that the Democrats were hemorrhaging male voters.
Culture was, they were, quote, too many preachy females. Unquote.
Too many preachy females. They put a whole bunch of feminists in charge of this campaign, leading the charge on what the image of this campaign would be like, and it all gave a bunch of whiny Democrat, probably rich girl Democrat broads running the show with their little Wonder Woman empowerment. Even though they're all emotional wrecks, or not all of them, probably many of them are emotional wrecks. They probably weaponize their tears when they don't want to be accountable for shit, right? They have the privilege of being a woman and hear me roar, but you have to consider my feelings and my weaker moments in life. It's insane to me how hypocritical some of these women are. But he's saying, we had too many. I'm going to say what you want to say, James Carville, because I know you got to be sensitive to the different folks in the Democratic Party. But he was saying we had too many damn feminists. Too many damn feminists in the equation. And of course, if you got all them damn feminists in the equation, hell yeah, you're going to be hemorrhaging men, because their messaging is not going to be male friendly. All right? And when you think about Kamala Harris's overall messaging, it wasn't male friendly. It was like a feminist playbook the entire time. She was running like there were not males in America that needed to vote for her. She voted like there were only gay men and women in the world that mattered. And they showed her that even though she didn't care about them, they cared about them. And apparently there are more of them than all of those people that she targeted, because she can go the distance with just the gay men and all the feminist, emotional women.
Fucking eruption from Washington progressive interest groups. But you know what's happened since the election? Nobody said, James, you were wrong. I had people come up to me and say, man, you brought attention to that problem. That you can't use their sanitized language to make a point. What I'm trying to say to you is, you have to cut against the grain if you want to be heard. You have to create your own moments. And absolutely. I know there's this kind of big post-mortem. I can't stand the W word. And I call it identity politics. You can imagine what I think the W word is. It sickens me to even use it, because the word is so noble and so glorious in its origin. And it was mostly by musicians, black musicians, Ledbetter, saying that it was advisable in the 20s or 30s, whenever it was, for black people to be aware of the interactions with police. And of course, overeducated white people, NPR people got a hold of the word, and course, ruined it for fucking everybody. And so the discussion now, I saw Bill Maher, I saw Jon Stewart, I saw different people, and did it hurt us? Of course it hurt us. And so Jon Stewart says, well, it couldn't have hurt because no Democrat ran on it. Of course they didn't run on it, because it was, even to the most clueless progressive that you could imagine by that time, they knew it was a disaster. So in order to escape any responsibility of what happened, they said, well, that stuff was never used in 2024. Well, you're fucking wrong. It was used. See, in politics, in comedy, if you tell a bad joke, who gives a shit? You just tell a bad joke and you throw the bad joke away. In politics, if you have a bad policy, particularly one as bad and stupid as this was, you may throw it away, but the other side gets to play. Understand that. This is a two-sided thing. And look at the number of ads they ran against Senate candidates, right? Senator-elect Slotkin in Michigan said just as plainly as he can, we need to stop using the language of the faculty lounge. Gee, I wonder where she got that phrase from, and start using the language of the shop floor. Good idea, Senator. Thank you. You went through it. Go and ask the progressive dream. Oh, boy, you got rid of all the moderate white males. Great job. You got rid of Senator Manchin. You got rid of Senator Casey. You got rid of Senator Brown. You got rid of Senator Tessa. I hope you feel good. You really must feel good. It must be purifying for people that listen to All Things Considered to think that they were part of getting rid of these people. Great job. Way to go, Brownie. You got it done. Yeah. You're so fucking smart. You know everything. But, of course, that's what happened in this election.
So Carville is saying, because he's trying to dance around the reality of things, he's saying that the Democrats got rid of all of these white guys who were moderates. Right? We got to translate. What is word salad like the thing over there? It's like, I need every single Democratic pundit to go back to school. I have my undergraduate is in communications, and I had a minor in journalism. And the one thing we learned about is KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, right? And honestly, I have to read between the lines of what the hell this man is saying, because he's word salading. Maybe he's trying to be seasoned with his words. But even still, I'm like, damn, bro, you speaking in riddles, But in between, if I could, just translate what he's saying is that there was a deliberate intention almost to sort of omit white people, white men specifically. And you had these Democratic pundits who were coordinating to get certain moderate white men out of the party. They were coordinating to get them out, right? And then when they were successful, they were bragging about it. And so Carville is saying that you're fucking stupid, right? You all are celebrating the fact that you got rid of some of the most logical voices in this party because they were white men speaking common sense. And again, he said we had too many preachy females running the show. And it makes sense, right? Why they would coordinate and try to take out certain white men. Interesting assessment, Carville.
Everything. But of course, that's what happened.
Read between the lines a lot
in this election. So now we've established 5 things. You got to get your own people. You can't have any lobbyists. If you do, they got to resign. They can't bring anything to it. So and you have this idiotic argument I see all the time. Well, should the Democrats run to the left? Should they run more to the right? Should they run more to the center? Should they run? You know what I say to these people? You got the runs, like diarrhea. Right? I actually agree which said to Bernie Sanders, actually agree with the, quote, progressives, unquote, whatever the fuck they are. We should have run more on the minimum wage, and we should have run more on raising taxes on incomes $400,000 a year. And I read, I hope somebody explores this, that Harris didn't want to accept, we were for it, we just never told anybody, didn't want to run on a minimum wage because her campaign thought that would be, quote, anti-business, unquote. If somebody would
They thought it would be what?
We just never told anybody, didn't want to run on a minimum wage because her campaign thought that would be, quote, anti-business, unquote. If somebody
I don't know what that means.
Me,
Anybody know what that means?
Fucking mouth. All right. So if you say word association, Trump, okay, I know corrupt, treasonous, okay, but to the average voter, southern border, tariffs, trans.
I'll try to repeat it. Hang on for 1 second.
Try to come up.
I'm trying to figure out what he was saying. That they
accept them right in the fucking mouth, because her campaign thought that would be, quote, anti-business, unquote.
Any business?
If somebody would have said that to me, I might have punched them right in the fucking mouth. Right? So,
and I believe that he would probably punch them in their effing mouth because he already talking about he would slap his mama to win. So y'all better not be playing with James Carville. Don't play with the old school folks because they will slap your ass. They talk about it too much. You know, most people, you either going to talk about it and be about it, right? You warn people that it's going to happen, right? So if they keep playing with you when it happens, there's no shock. I warned you, right? And then you got some people like just run off at their mouth, right? But I wonder if he really about it, just punching and socking folks. Anybody who say that they going to slap their mama to win, I can't trust you. Then I would trust anything that you might do.
To the average voter?
Not trust you, but I trust that you would do anything to
trans.
Get what you want.
But you could definitely come up with 3 words real quick. Try to come up with a word for Harris. Not much. I think had she said, America needs a raise, and I'm going to give them one with the minimum wage. And I think that in my experience over a long period of time, there's nothing more popular than raising taxes on rich people to help other people who are not rich. And the idea, if you're thinking about putting together a 2028 campaign, get a lot of really rich people inside a committee. Don't tax you, don't tax the guy behind the tree, tax me. And if she would have just said, we did terrible with younger voters, we did terrible with younger voters, another expression I can't stand, but I'll use it, with voters of color. It's such an asshole way to describe people. Everybody that is not white is the same. It's so stupid.
Thank you. He's just, man, James Carville this is tea, okay? This is real tea right here, because he is really validating everything that I done thought about the Democrats, where they don't want to complicate things, so they just want to lump everybody up into little groups, struggle groups, or whatnot. But James Carville is on point here. He was like, I hate the fact that they are talking about people of color, like just lumping everybody that's not white as this little designation group. It's white, and then there's people of color. And I am so glad that this guy is spilling this tea and saying exactly what everybody else has been saying. How you gonna rename, Latinos and Hispanic? Oh, y'all just Latinx. And nobody knows what the hell that means. It's like, I'm pretty sure if you ask like a Puerto Rican, right, they're not going to say that maybe there's some cultural similarities, but I guarantee you that they don't think that they're Mexicans and they don't share the same culture as Mexicans, right? So what does Latinx mean? What does people of color mean? And it's just like really anything that's not white, which I think is a very separatist mindset to have. And again, he's talking about how the Democratic Party, because it is their camp that is coming up with all these little fruity labels for people and groups. It is their camps that are coming out with this crap, right? And so I'm glad to hear a Democrat, old school Democrat, who is on the mic saying that he hates those things too. High five, James Carville. You should have been the consultant this year. Why didn't they pay James Carville to lend his expertise, right? Oh, I forgot. They had all the preachy feminists running the show so that they can demonstrate woman empowerment. The vagina's lost, guys. The vagina's lost.
If we said we were going to raise minimum wage to
Too much emotions.
$15, $16 an hour, and we were going to tax really wealthy people and use the money to help younger people buy a house, put in the first time mortgage, we would have signaled to people that you're there, that we're taking on the powerful special interests, the powerful billionaire class in this country. It's time for them to pony up. The vice president was thinking about going on Joe Rogan's show, and a lot of the younger progressive staffers pitched a hissy fit.
Okay. So remember, Joe Rogan had his perception about why Kamala Harris did not come on the show, right? Joe Rogan was like, well, they wanted me to do a crap ton of stuff, editing, blah, blah, blah. They had a lot of demands, right? Kamala Harris's camp was like, oh, no, it's just that, scheduling wise, it was just going to be a conflict, so we couldn't make it happen, and it was just hard, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, right? James Carville. See, I'm going to listen to the elders on this, right? I'm going to listen to the wisdom of the elders on this. So what you saying, James Carville?
Powerful special interests, the powerful billionaire class in this country, Rogan show, and a lot of the younger progressive staffers pitched a hissy fit. Supposedly the campaign said that wasn't the determined factor, but they did.
They said that the fact that the progressive campaign, feminist, emotional-minded people were throwing a hissy fit, that Kamala Harris was entertaining, the campaign was entertaining the Joe Rogan show. And he's saying that they said, well, that wasn't the determining factor, but it was definitely a factor, right? So, some people say, well, she was afraid to speak with Joe Rogan. She didn't want to be under the hot seat. I don't think Joe Rogan would have gave her a pressurized interview. I think he would have asked her curious questions like he always do, right? And, obviously she would have been, responsible for answering those things and being accountable for those things. But what he's saying is that there were a lot of progressive people attached to that campaign that did not want her to go on Joe Rogan because they hate Joe Rogan so much. This is what happens when you have a bunch of emotional dummies, majority with vaginas, running your campaign. Like a big
put a campaign together.
Rag
You
fest.
hire young people to do work. Let me tell you exactly.
Ooh, this is my favorite part of this, y'all. If you over 40, y'all about to feel it. Y'all gonna feel him, because I feel James Carville. Because these young people are out of line. They think just because they had access to technology and maybe some advancement in information that could be very skewed, that they are the smartest people in society, right? So it takes the old school to remind them, right? And again, when I hear young people who haven't really gone through the school of hard knocks just yip yapping and running off at their mouth, I do feel like, I do get that, gut feeling like the old folks used to have, and you just want to smack the fuck out of them and tell them to shut the hell up and just listen. Just listen. You haven't been in this game called life longer than anybody for you to be acting like you have some supremacy of intelligence. Even if you went to school and had more schooling than your parents, guess what? You could have been sitting your ass in a classroom listening to somebody indoctrinate you, not teach you how to make sense of things, and then you done graduated with that depreciating piece of paper, and you can't think any better about life and people and society than you did before you went into the classroom, right? The greatest knowledge that we will ever acquire as human beings is just living this game called life. And that's just what it is. You got to be living, you have to be learning, You have to be continuously learning. That is the best classroom in life, right? It just really is, you know? So
That wasn't the term effective, but they did. When you put a campaign together and you
that's a
hire
damn
young people to
shame.
do work, let me tell you exactly what you tell these people, what I would tell them. Not only am I not interested in your fucking opinion, I'm not even going to call you by your name. You're 23 years old. I don't really give a shit what you think. And let me tell you another huge fucking error this make, is when people said campaigns need to reflect progressive values. No, they don't. No, they don't. Campaigns are authoritarian by their nature. And if I were running a 2028 campaign and I had some little snot-nosed 23-year-old saying, I'm going to resign if you don't do this, not only would I fire that motherfucker on the spot, I would find out who hired him and fire that person on the spot.
James Carville is telling us
really
what went wrong, y'all.
interested.
Hold up. What you say, James Carville? I like this man. Why didn't they have him as a consultant? Kamala could have been did better, image wise at least. What you saying, James? What would you would have did? He tired of these young folks smelling themselves. What the old folks used to say, you smelling yourself? You too big for your britches? That's what a lot of these young people are.
If I were running a 2028 campaign and I had some little snot-nosed 23-year-old saying, I'm going to resign if you don't do this, not only would I fire that motherfucker on the spot, I would find out who hired him and fire that person on the spot. I'm really not interested
Thug life.
in your
This is a real
uninformed,
OG.
stupid jackass opinion as to whether you go on Joe Rogan or not. And there were people that worked in the White House that were protesting because they didn't like the president's policy in Gaza. Well, then get the fuck out of the White House. I'm every time that I think of this, I think of these Columbia protests. I don't want to necessarily, but this person has distinguished themselves. There was a Columbia student, I think her name was Joanna King Schlussman, who is, quote, a self-described expert on progressive and left-wing causes. If you want to know why progressive and left-wing causes go nowhere in the United States, it's probably a good idea to start with Miss King Schlussman, or whatever the fuck her name is, who was such a revolutionary that she demanded that they be fed on the Columbia meal plan. I don't really want to pick on this young woman that much, but to say, when you see something like this around a campaign, you get about as far away from it as you could possibly get. Follow what I'm saying?
And they had a bunch of those people in Kamala's campaign.
We're not doing inclusion. We're not doing committees. We're not asking opinions. We're doing shit here.
Right.
So,
y'all out here trying to have a feeling session.
All you Democrats, you marvelously talented people who are thinking about running in 2028, my advice is start thinking about it now. Don't back off. My opinion, a lot of you should have run in 2024, but for other reasons you chose not to. And we're going to have a really talented figure here. We got to get these people out. We got to get them out early. We got to give hope to people. I would hope we do a kind of mini convention in 2026 and invite some people to just come in and express ideas, because people have no idea how much common sense, deep, profound talent we have in this party.
We don't. We do not. And if you could drop some names for us, James, that would be great. Because I have asked several times on my live stream for these Democratic people to please drop a name or who are your best champions at this point in time. And nobody can offer up a name. Nobody can offer up a name. So they're not really looking good. So it's good that James Carville is on the mic telling them that, you know what, they manufacture and breed so many different Manchurian type of candidates. Their liberal arts aren't working or something. But they do need to go back to the lab and breed some better candidates, right? I heard them saying we need to get our own liberal Joe Rogan, right? And here's the thing, stop copying everybody, right? This is the problem with liberals too. They're copycats. right? They would try to read. Like, one thing I didn't like about that whole Josh Shapiro dude is immediately they had him cosplaying like he was Obama. I'm like, if you just don't be true to yourself, you talking to some black people, you kind of look like Obama, and now you over here cosplaying like the brother. Be your damn self. Aren't these people organic and original at all? And this is what happens when you pick people from these elite circles and not the people from the school of hard knocks. The people who actually been on the ground, they know people, they are not only book smarts, but they truly are street smarts. The street smarts people will always be the better winners, the better champions in society because they know how people organically work. Book smarts people don't have that. Highly educated, you're a book smarts indoctrinated person at best. Half of you guys don't know how the streets work, you don't know how people work, and yet you're trying to appeal to segments of America that you are completely disassociated from, completely disconnected from, and some of them even have the audacity to want to dictate to Americans and these people that they perceive to be lower intelligent. You dictate to them how they should think and feel because they just feel the entitlement to do that because they went to a Cambridge or Harvard, yet y'all still got swindled out of millions of money, some of y'all, donating to a failing campaign. Y'all will never live that down for me over here. All right, Mr. Carville, this
And
is great.
these
Thank
people
you for
had
the
to
tea,
lose the
sir.
election because of the stupidity that we had in the early part of this decade. My heart goes out for you. All of you serve your country and your party with great distinction. You should be remembered, and I'm sorry that these assholes so much contributed to you losing your job. But I guess the progressive now have their dream.
So James Carville is basically telling us how screwed up the Democratic Party is. They're in shambles. They're in pieces. They're gonna have to, regroup. That's basically what it is. You said what? You're lying, April, honey. You can't comprehend. So how in the hell can you decipher a truth from a lie? Let's get April off. We don't do stupid people coming up in here saying stupid shit, honey. If you can't comprehend, don't put your shit on other people. Just say, what do you mean? Right? So, anyways, let's see. The real question is it pink or purple? The real question is, are you gay, straight, and is your mom as ugly as your soul? Let's go ahead and block you out. This must be the Democrat trolls. I knew it. When the Democrats come in, the racists come out to play. Let me read some of these racist Democrats. All right, let's see. Let's see. Obama is a losing proposition. The Democrats always come out to play. You talking about Willie Brown? She probably needs to go and holler at Willie because I don't know what Doug doing for her. He didn't even come to he wasn't even like cleaving on to her. I would have been next to her. She lost. She looked unhinged. He could have stood next to her while she was doing that concession speech. What's going on? I see you. Let's see. Hearing James swear is like hearing your grandpa swear for the first time. I love James Carville. I mean, he gonna tell it straight. I mean, I'm telling you, he's Granddad 2.0, and it wouldn't hurt to listen to Granddad. That's all I got to say. Is it anti-defendants? My Mama Molly, I have no idea what she said. It sounded like anti-business, but then I really didn't understand what they were trying to say there. You said he is old and feeble, but you know what? Here's the thing. These young people think they know better than people who have been on this earth longer than them, and they don't. And it never works out well. That's why even the Bible tells you to not, discount the wisdom of your parents and your elders because they've been on this game called life longer than you. And honestly, there's nothing new under the sun. So just because you think, like these kids, like even my kids, they'll change. They'll be like, "Mom, we say period." I'm like, "Honey, we've been saying period for decades, okay? You think just because the city girls came on board and they talking about period that was just something new? Like everything is being reinvented. You look at bell bottoms will come back off and on throughout, style decades. It's like there's nothing new under the sun. So you're never going to lose listening to people who have been on this earth longer than you, but you do have to be selective to even the older people, right? Because if you have people who can't be as objective as James Carville is being right now, because he's really giving it to his party. He's not placating into, I can't talk about my party. I can't tell them where we went wrong because I don't want to make us look bad. No, the new generation of liberals, they do shit like that, right? No, James Carville is old school, and old school is going to tell it like it is, whether you like it or not. And that's just what it is. And so I appreciate him giving us this tea about his party, right? Because I think that he's reading the same writing on the wall as people who are not associated with this party are reading, right? So it's like, it is what it is. They had all those young progressives throwing a hissy fit that Kamala Harris was considering going on Joe Rogan, threatening to quit their job if she did it, and they literally considered those people's feelings instead of just, as Carville said, firing their asses and staying the course would have been a better strategy. Like towards the end, Kamala Harris was doing all these news anchor interviews and they were just hurting her. She should have did Joe Rogan. I kept saying that she should have did Rogan, but now we see why she didn't do Joe Rogan. She had some emotionally irrational feminists in her camp threatening to protest if she did the most logical thing to help her campaign, which was not going to make it, but at least do everything you can to give it a chance. And unfortunately, their feelings did not allow her to do that. And it is what it is. So, don't come over here with your passionate ignorance, because this is information coming from one of your own, right? I can't stand these irrational Democrats coming in. They just hear something. They don't listen to comprehend, right? They don't listen to see what is going on here. You just running off at your damn mouth. And that's why Kamala asked, then lost. Because she was just spouting word salads and nobody could connect what the fuck she was talking about, but your threatened and victimized black women and your low value daddy's girl spoiled rich white bitches. So it's all kind of like, I understand your crowd of people, these Democratic women, right? And for the record, I do believe that many Democratic women are probably the most volatile type of leaders to have in society. So I don't really get excited to vote for any women too quickly to assume positions of power, but I definitely would never ever vote for a modern Democrat woman for anything. I just won't. I would not put my money on a modern minded Democrat woman, right? We're just going to have to trust the men when it comes from people on that camp. And that's just me. But, anyways, you guys earned this disdain of your party, and don't be in your feelings coming over here insulting people because they don't like you, right? Take your emotional ass to one of your Democratic therapists who's going to coddle your problems for the rest of their life or your life, because it is very profitable for them and they really don't care about you at the end of the day. They just need to make money off your problems. But anyways, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I've gone like almost an hour and a half. Thanks to those who have tuned in. Thank you, James Carville, for giving us this hilarious rant about where your party has been going wrong. It takes the old school to get just the cold facts out there. And I appreciate him being objective of not enough not to be sitting up there trying to make excuses for his party. He's basically telling it like it is. He's basically saying everything that everybody outside of that emotional bubble was saying and calling out, but they didn't want to acknowledge it because they wanted to act oblivious and be on their bandwagon of emotional ignorance. But this man is a real OG. And he's calling out the obvious, and hopefully those who have some sense of rationality or common sense in the Democratic fold will listen to him, right? And they will regroup and they will do better character assessments of people, right? Because I don't think America is really concerned about anybody's emotions. They care about their effort, their hard work, and being able to keep or maintain the money that they earn. And they don't want orders out here short squeezing them for all kinds of emotional causes that have nothing to do with the sustainability of everybody in this nation. So I think the Democrats should just really narrow their conversations and their movements around the economy and nothing more. Because nobody cares about any of that other stuff. They really don't. All right. So you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I will catch you. What did you say? Therapists making crazy money this year. Oh, you know it. Shit. I thought about going out and getting a little something, something so I can start talking to some of these folks. Make a little money off of their dysphorias and shit like that. All those little crazy ideas that the Democratic Party have nurtured into their brains. Obviously these people need to be reprogrammed, right? Detransitioned from that irrational mindset. So I did think about going out and getting a therapy license or something like that. Shit, I'd be a better therapist than a lot of these people, because a lot of these people won't tell you the truth. And if I was a therapist, if you work with me, my whole program would be called Get Your Ass Right in 3 Sessions. And I've thought about this for a while. If I was a therapist, how would I want to help people? All right. I know I don't want to make money off of people's problems. There's so many people in the world to make money off of that you really don't have to keep making money off of the same person. But in my program, Get Your Ass Right in 3 Sessions, right? We will have these 3 sessions, and the whole purpose of these 3 sessions is acknowledgement, reconciliation, and control, right? Because a lot of times people need to be hyper conscious of the things that they can control and they can't control and they cannot control. And I think a lot of people try to absorb. They have a savior complex. So I'll be introducing all kinds of mindsets of stoicism, right? And understanding balance and boundaries, right? You have a friend that want to keep telling you about the same damn problem forever. You got to cut them off. You're not being a bad friend. It's just that now that person is burdening you because they can with their issues that they have zero intention of reconciling. And it's not fair to you and your mental health to have to endure that shit. So I'll be helping them just kind of navigate all just the basic things in life to keep us sane. And of course, I will have to tell them, one of the major thing about this transformation is you got to open up that Bible. And I'm going to recommend that you start with the book of Proverbs, read the entire book of Proverbs, and then I want you to read the book of Psalms, right? Because I need you to find some peace. I need you to understand that there are forces out there that can give you that peace, but there are also forces out there that will give you disruption. And so that session will be all about the peaceful forces also versus the destructive forces. So it'll all be in 3 sessions, and it'll be Get Your Ass Right in 3 sessions. And I think that I would have a good ROI for everybody that I encounter, because I'm not here to coddle your problems. We are here to reconcile, baby. And if you are not interested in reconciling your problems, then this is not the program for you. So who wants to help me develop Get Your Ass Right in 3 sessions? Like, let's talk about this next time. But anyways, this is a prime time for therapists to be making money off of these Democrats. So if you got to practice, you better start making money off of these emotional ass people. It's capitalism, guys. And everybody's capitalizing off of somebody's feelings. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I will catch you on the next one. Bye.